All right, some of you guys are going back and forth in between. Do you get the Z Fold 7 or the Z Fold 6? If it's your first Z Fold, go Z Fold 7. I'm gonna tell you right up front. Even if you're upgrading from the Z Fold 6, the Z Fold 7 is an upgrade despite the narrative out there. And trust me, as someone who has had my hands on this thing, the innovative, the difference, the new factor, the new feel that you get from the Z Fold 7 every time you grab it, you pick it up, you feel that lightness. I've been using the Z Fold, mind you, since the Z Fold 3. So I've had the 3, the 4, the 5, and the 6. And I still can't believe this device. Like, I pick it up, how light it is, how slim it is, how well designed, how efficient, how powerful, how well packaged the Z Fold 7 is the reason why you see so much hype behind it. It's not propaganda, it's not all of that. And I'm telling y'all from my perspective straight up, you guys know I'm brutally honest every time. I've been kicking Samsung's butt. I've been trying to whip them into shape, and this is why. The Z Fold 7. Listen, I've been telling them to make this outer screen wider since the Z Fold 3 and 4. I've been telling them to get this screen bigger, which is a byproduct of the outer screen increasing, since the Z Fold 4. I've been telling them that we need S Ultra caliber cameras since the Z Fold 4. Samsung said, hold my beer, and they gave us the Z Fold 7. If you want to be a nitpicker, oh, it's wobbling, blah, blah, blah. Come on, bro. Put it face down. Put a screen protector, put it face down. Put a case on it. You guys are going to get a case anyway. And that's another beauty of the Z Fold 7, is that 215 gram weight, which is a huge reduction from the Z Fold 6, offers the ability to add a case and still have a light Z Fold, which I think a lot of you guys are missing. For the people who are like me, who are courageous to go caseless, oh my goodness, what an experience. I'm snapping better photos. I'm snapping ultra caliber photos. I got log video on the rear and front facing camera. The reason I'm pounding so hard up front about the Z Fold 7, I just got to set the tone. And this is as someone who is a Z Fold enthusiast. Look on my desk right now. But I got the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, which I personally felt was the phone of last year for me personally. Although it was rightfully given to the S24 Ultra, I had to give it to the S24 Ultra. As someone who loved this device, I cannot get enough of this device. Every time I grab it, every time I pick it up, and yes, I'm still in the quote unquote honeymoon phase, but this 100% will go beyond the honeymoon phase with me for various reasons. This is what I asked for, number one. I got more than I asked for in a slimmer device. No, the battery did not get larger. But the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip that's been in the S25 Ultra has been absolutely phenomenal. It's efficient, it's smooth, it's power packed, it's delivering in all steps, and you're getting that built into this Z Fold 7. You can pout and fuss, or you can look at it from a different perspective. The fact that it's been reduced by so much and it's still maintaining the same size battery, I take my hat off and I say, thank you, Samsung, for that. I'll talk about battery later in the video. We'll get into the whole silicon carbon debate and all that stuff, but that's something new. How long has it been out? Is it tried and true? This is my intro, and I'm setting the tone. It may seem like I'm gonna have a biased perspective or a biased talk about these two, but I'm not. I'm talking straight reality. Listen, and everyone who wants to talk about what's happening over the waters, I don't live over the water, so if you do, I get it. I respect your opinion, but here in the States, natively, what's available natively, there's only so many players. And out of those players, this is the player, software-wise, and now design-wise. Thank you for listening to my upfront monologue. Let's get into the video. YouTube, in today's video, we will go head-to-head with the Galaxy Z Fold 7 versus the Galaxy Z Fold 6. This video's entire purpose is to make choosing in between the Z Fold 7 and Z Fold 6 an even easier decision. Not only will we point out some of the physical and spec driven differences, but what matters most is the user experience. I've been using the Galaxy Z Fold since the Z Fold 3. Z Fold 3, Z Fold 4, Z Fold 5, Z Fold 6, and now the Z Fold 7. And I got a lot of thoughts and opinion from real world user experience that I'm going to share in this video, which will help make your decision that much easier. Hopefully. Let's get directly into it. Obviously, starting off with design. As you guys can see, this has been the Z Fold design that we've grown to know over time, which is the more narrow front display, the thicker body when folded that unfolds to this nice size screen. We'll get into the specs of the screen and differences. And then we've always had a solid camera system, but it's never been ultra with the Galaxy Z Fold lineup, at least until now. The difference is here. Obviously, everyone's raving about how thin the Z Fold 7 is, which it is shockingly thin and it's shockingly light. This is one of those phones that every time I grab it and I pull it out to interact with it and use it from a user experience perspective, I'm like, wow, at awe and amazement. And I get that joy that I miss when you pull out like a nice new device. So this unfolds to a nice massive screen, but the outer screen has seen an increase in sizing and whatnot. We'll get into the specs in just a second, but from a design perspective, if you look at these two side by side, they're both high quality Samsung builds, but in such a different delivery now that we have a wider, slimmer Z Fold iteration versus the slimmer, thicker, heftier Z Fold of the past. So let's get into dimensions really quick. The Z Fold 6 from a height perspective is 153.5 millimeters by 68.1 millimeters in width, and the thickness is 12.1 millimeters, while the Z Fold 7 has a taller 158.4 millimeters by 72.8 millimeters of width with an 8.9 millimeter thickness once folded. So you got 8.9 millimeters versus the 12.1 millimeters. And when we unfold it, the slimness of this device is 5.6 millimeters versus the 4.2 millimeters of this device. And just for a perspective and a reality, like look at this and look at this. It's pretty tough to translate the differences. I'll get some up close shots with the macro lens and whatnot, but the difference in dimensions is serious. And then when it comes to weight, 239 grams versus 215 grams. That is a nice and massive weight reduction from a year-over-year perspective. And I'm telling you guys, you could sit here and you can look at the specs, you could listen to people rant on, or you can be a follower of those who have not put their hands on this thing. But when you get the Z Fold 7 in your hands, the weight reduction along with the size reduction, it just equals, it's hard to explain. I can't even put it into words. It's just every time I grab it, every time I interact with it, it just feels like a Z Fold of no other, like a Z Fold that we've never had, which it absolutely is. And I know everyone's gonna be like, oh, you're just glazing. I'm not glazing. You guys know how I get down. I keep it all the way a buck. The Z Fold 6 was my favorite phone of last year. And for me to point out, you know, the differences and the realities between the Z Fold 7 and Z Fold 6, I'm only gonna keep it a buck. Now, both of these are rocking the exact same IP48, you know, dust and splash resistance. So nothing has improved from that perspective from the previous model to the new model. And the hinge did undergo a slight redesign, obviously, as it had to take on this new, smaller, slimmer form factor. But from a durability perspective, I've seen some people who were bold enough to reverse bend it. And Samsung has gotten, you know, the resistance on a reverse bend, as you guys may have seen in the teardown of the Z Fold 6. Well, that carries on into the Z Fold 7. I'm pretty sure we'll see it in the upcoming teardown. But that reverse like bend, like if you were to take it this way and really push at it, it's very resistant and very well built from a durability perspective. Durability. Obviously, the Z Fold 7 is new. We have to live with it. Again, I was just speaking about the hinge and whatnot. The Z Fold 6 proved to be a very durable Z Fold for me. All of my Z Folds have been fine over the years, and I luckily haven't had any issues. That's my personal experience. Let's talk about the front AMOLED panels that we have on these devices. We have a 6.5 inch display on the Z Fold 7. This is a 1080 by 2520 pixel 422 ppi versus the 6.3 inch front panel on the Z Fold 6, which is a 968 by 2376 pixels with a 410 ppi. And this screen size and delivery is what was odd to me. This one now has a side that has 1080p along with the, tall side of the 2520, but is even more balanced. And it has a denser PPI, which will equal a better visual clarity and delivery. Both screens are rocking the 120 hertz refresh rate. So not much of a difference, but much of a difference if you were one of the many who were wanting this screen to get normal. That's the best way I could put it. This is now a normal front panel and it makes a world of a difference. If you were able to deal with this, that's fine, cool, you chilling. Me, this is where I'm at personally. This is the size that I wanted. This is the size that I've gotten and I'm happy with it. And this screen unfolds to a massive 8-inch internal main display versus a 7.6-inch internal display of the past. So on the Z Fold 7, we're rocking a 1968 by 2184 pixels with a 368 ppi versus the 1856 by 2160 pixels with a 374 ppi density. So the Z Fold 6's main panel is a bit denser than the Z Fold 7's. So that is a plus in favor of the Z Fold 6 if you get into all that technical PPI density type stuff. It does matter overall, but honestly, I've been using both of these devices consistently and I will take either or. As far as clarity and display quality, I'm not one over the other, except for when it comes into the talk of size. The 8-inch screen panel on the Z Fold 7 caters more to me and what I've wanted. So on screen, I'll pull up HDR on both of these and we'll do a side by side and we'll see if we see any differences. I'll let you guys look at it. It won't be a pixel peak deep detail, but at the end of the day, Samsung makes the best displays on the market and both of these are absolutely phenomenal. Now let's carry on the platform really quick. As you guys may notice, I like to run Nova Launcher with the Crayon icon pack, and this widget is a KGWT widget. It's the DUS KGWT, if I said that correctly. You can get that pack and you can get the icon pack and you can get this build out. This is similar. I do not have the custom widget on here yet. I need to go through my DUS pack and pick a new one and build this out. So this is a build in progress as this is my new device. So we'll see where that goes. Before I carry on into platform, there is another difference in between these two when it comes to the main screen, and that's the under display camera versus the non-under display, the pinhole cutout. So that could be, a give or take for you. For me personally, I don't mind it. I'll take it. I mean, yes, it's nicer to have a full, flawless screen, obviously, but that camera probably is seeing a lot less usage due to the quality. I don't really use the internal cameras, so I'm fine, without it or whatever, but, it's here. Okay, let's talk platform, because on the Z Fold 6, currently I'm on Android 15 with One UI 7. On the Z Fold 7, I'm currently running Android 16 with One UI 8. There are differences in software, but as you guys know, the Z Fold 6 should get the update software-wise and be somewhat on par with what's in the Z Fold 7. I mean, hardware is also different with the Snapdragon 8 Elite, which is a 3nm architecture being inside of the Z Fold 7 versus the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, which is a 4nm architecture inside of the Z Fold 6. They're both octa-core or 8 cores and whatnot. We do have the Adreno 830 in the Z Fold 7, which is a 1200 megahertz or 1.2 gigahertz GPU versus the Adreno 750, which is a 1 gigahertz GPU. There is improvement in the Z Fold 7. Listen, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is a phenomenal chipset. It's the one for Galaxy. Both of those are for Galaxy. I like either or. I'm not gonna be like, this one over that one. The Snapdragon 8 Elite is absolutely phenomenal. The Galaxy S25 Ultra has absolutely been my favorite phone thus far of the year until now. I'm gonna be honest. But the Snapdragon 8 Elite is a big part of what delivered on that. We got One UI 8 in this bad boy. And continuing on, and the platform and the setup, both of these have that super fast Samsung UFS 4.0 storage. It's whatever, RAM and storage package you choose to get as far as capacities go. But let's get into something that is different between the two, and we're gonna talk about cameras. Oh boy. Now, the cameras on the Z Fold 6 are solid. But for years, I have spoken and I have yelled out to Samsung for us to get ultra caliber cameras on the Z Fold 7, and Samsung finally delivered with us getting the 200 megapixel from, the S25 Ultra series onto the Z Fold 7. It's a slim body, but we got a beefy camera package. Pause. Now listen, the main camera is the main one that changed, but that's the main camera that everyone uses. There are, times where we're gonna get into the ultra wide, which this ultra wide now has autofocus on the Z Fold 7, outshining or doing what's on the Z Fold 6. So you have two camera deliveries, actually three, because the internal camera now, since it's a pinhole, you're gonna get better quality. So you have three camera improvements, one major camera upgrade, actually two, because ultra wide with autofocus is a solid upgrade. So two major camera upgrades, third camera improvement due to clarity and usability in the pinhole, but you do have a change in cameras in between these two. I was in Brooklyn, New York, and I made sure to have both of these side by side, snapping photos, as well as some video, which I will be overlaying and showing to you guys. So that way you guys can see the difference in between these two. The difference in that 200 megapixel camera is evident. And another separating factor in between these two in the area of cameras is log, Samsung log. We got introduced to Samsung log with the S25 Ultra that dropped. It continues on in the Z Fold 7, and thankfully, since the Z Fold 7 already has One UI 8, you now have log video in the front facing camera. So if I flip this to the front, you guys can see you have log video. I tested that against the non-log video of the Z Fold 6. You guys will be able to see that as well. A shift in cameras, and honestly, I feel it, I see it. The quality of the S25 Ultra cameras, I use them absolutely all of the time. I created a lot of footage with that, but I also created a lot of footage and captured a lot of footage with the Z Fold 7 due to this new camera improvement, which absolutely ups the bar in the usage of the Z Fold in comparison to all of my phones now. So listen, okay, a separating factor in between these two that some of you will feel is in favor for the Z Fold 6 is S Pen support. The Z Fold 6 can still use an S Pen. For some of you, that's a one-up point. The Z Fold 7, no S Pen support, but for a lot of you, and I mean this when I say a lot of you, because I think it's in numbers and in data, you were using your Z Fold without an S Pen. So the fact that there is no S Pen support, you're not as upset, or you could care less. But I do want to validate those who actually use the S Pen. Your voice needs to be heard and your disappointment is understood, but you still have the Z Fold 6 if that's the option that you choose to have above all, right? Okay, so the ultimate thing above all with these devices, or any of these devices when using or comparing, is user experience. The user experience, in my opinion, is the collective of everything that we just spoke about from a perspective, and it's the most important experience. I told you guys that the Z Fold 6 was my favorite phone of last year. If it wasn't for the S24 Ultra being the rightful owner of phone of the year, I would have given it to the Z Fold 6. Now, why did I love this device so much? The design improvements that they made with the flat edges, the rounded corners, they did a weight reduction. They just refined what we knew. And that's another downside to the Z Fold 6 for some, is from the Z Fold 5, it really did not feel like much of a change or an upgrade, if we're being honest, right? Just keeping it all the way 1000. But from a refinement perspective, with the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, the efficiency, the quality that brings in performance, even in cameras and whatnot, it still offered a very refined and very developed Z Fold experience, but it was a very familiar Z Fold experience. And it's the Z Fold experience that I've grown to like because I've had it since the Z Fold 3 to the 4 to the 5 to the 6. Obviously, there's been refinements over those years, but essentially it's the same architecture and design and, Z Fold delivery. That's why here with the Z Fold 7, things change. And things change a lot, right? For some, they say not for the best. But I think for the many, this is the Z Fold that you will grow to appreciate and enjoy from a user experience perspective. It's not just because it's super light and it's super thin, but that's a huge part of the point. A lot of people stayed away from foldable devices because when you would fold them, they would become abnormally thick and large, and unlike the phones that we know, and unlike any smartphones that we currently use and know, that is no longer the case. Look at this in comparison to an iPhone 16 Pro Max. But look at this in comparison to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. That right there turned a lot of people off from even experiencing the Z Fold experience that a lot of you who are upset enjoy and love. But this right here will break that very barrier 100,000%. This is going to get the heads turning. And I understand it. I get it. Every time I grab this and I pick this up, I can't believe how slim and how light it is. And the fact that it's a Z Fold. So I'm able to carry a Z Fold device and feel as if I'm just carrying a flagship smartphone like the 16 Pro Max or the S25 Ultra, which happens to be heavier. But look at that. That's the point. That's why you see a lot of creators happy and excited about the Z Fold 7. No one was expecting this. Obviously, we had the, early, rumors and talks, but this was like, something out of left field. I expected the screen to get wider. I expected this screen to get larger, but I didn't expect the entire phone to get smaller. Now, another point of discussion, I didn't point it out earlier because it's the same. Battery, 4,400 milliamp hours is inside of the Z Fold 6, and it's also inside of the Z Fold 7. There's two ways to look at this. The easiest way to look at it is, it didn't change, and some people are finding disappointment in that. But the other way to look at this is the fact that what I just spoke about in size reduction was delivered upon in this delivery while still maintaining the exact same battery. Now, a lot of people's like, there's a new, the silicon carbon battery. Why aren't they using it? I'm pretty sure on a technical longevity perspective and what's proven and what's not proven perspective, there's got to be a reason why they're not quick to jump into the silicon carbon, technology. It's new. We haven't even seen the devices that have it last an entirety of a long, period and see how that battery works over time. But I'm with you. I've been wanting that new technology for a long time because it's been rumored for years. And it's just now starting to, come out, and it does great things. You're seeing devices just as skinny as the Z Fold 7 or skinnier with a whole, 1,600 more milliamp hours? But you got to understand this. I got a perspective in the fact that I'm in the States. We technically do not get access to those devices. You can go above and beyond to get them, and you can get them and you can use them without a doubt. But natively, what Google offers and what Apple will soon to offer are the standard, right? And OnePlus, right? And out of those, I'm going Z Fold 7 all day, and I'm appreciating what this is. In between these two, there's two questions. You're either looking at these two and making a decision as someone who's never had a foldable device or just to, grab, right? You're not looking from an upgrade to upgrade, or maybe you have an older Z Fold 5, Z Fold 4, and you're wondering if you're not majorly hung up on the S Pen, if you could get a great trade-in value, if you can make this, bargain friendly. A lot of people want to talk about the price point. Who's paying flat out prices? Some people do, but that's a very small percentage of you. You guys are going to trade in. So, complaining about the price point, I'm not saying that it's okay, but, there's a lot of things going on where we are that probably are impacting that price. But if you trade in, Samsung, y'all could have came a little heavier with the trade-ins. I'm going to just be honest. But if you trade in, you're getting this device for half or a little bit over. You know what I mean? I'm telling you from my perspective as someone who has used this device, as someone who loves the S Pen, but I have a true reality that I did not use the S Pen on the Z Fold devices for my reasons. It was never in the body. If they would have put the S Pen in the body, I would use it. I would be, up in arms by now. But no, they didn't. I've grown to love the Z Fold without an S Pen. And I'm telling you guys, the Z Fold 7 is the best version, iteration, delivery of the Z Fold to date, period. There's some of you out there with the Z Fold 6 and you're wondering, should you upgrade to the Z Fold 7? Again, if you are a part of the angry, if you're so connected to that S Pen, you might as well just stay where you are because you're not getting the S Pen on the Z Fold 7. You can use one of those, generic or general pens and get it to work. But for those of you guys who understand technology, you want something different, you want to really get into that innovative next, level. Things were given to you in the Z Fold 7 and things were sacrificed in us getting those things. And I'm telling you that sacrifice was worth it. Every time you interact and use this device, if you're open to it and open-minded, you will be satisfied. The Z Fold 7 is definitely upgradable from the Z Fold 6. You can jump from the Z Fold 6 into the Z Fold 7 and enjoy yourself. You can jump from the Z Fold 5, especially into the Z Fold 7, and absolutely enjoy yourself. That is if you're willing to let go of the S Pen. There's so much more that can be said. You go back and forth. Listen, I don't like the narratives I'm saying in the comment section, but I know what the true majority of narrative is. The tech space is a niche. The more you guys understand that a lot of you guys are just living in a niched world with niche opinions and not opinions of the majority. And when you open your mind up to the majority, you will understand the Z Fold 7. That's the best way that I could put it. The Z Fold 7 100,000% is the best Galaxy Z Fold that you can get now. If you're trying to pick out of all of the Z Folds, this is the one you pick. If you're trying to upgrade from any of the Z Folds, this is the Z Fold to upgrade to. I said it and I stand behind it. Point blank, period. And listen, add in a Galaxy Watch 8 Classic. This combo right here, fire.